This is Viva Fry.
I'm Dr. Peter McCullough.
This is Tom Luongo.
This is Chuck Prodnick.
This is Alex Kreiner.
Hey, this is Brad Wall.
This is JP Sears.
Hi, this is Frank Peretti.
This is Tammy Peterson.
This is Danielle Smith.
This is James Lindsay.
Hey, this is Brett Kissel, and you're listening to the Shaun Newman Podcast.
Welcome to the podcast, folks. How's everybody doing today? Happy Thursday. We are closing in. This time next week, I'll already be in Calgary, so the Cornerstone Forum, which is brought to you by Silver Gold Bull and Bow Valley Credit Union, coming in just over a week. And if you don't have tickets to it, that's all right. You can become a paid member on Substack. In the week following the Cornerstone Forum, you can see the entirety of the Cornerstone Forum right on Substack. It's going to be there for paid members. So if you're interested in seeing what happens at the Cornerstone Forum, you can still do that. Just become a paid member and don't miss any of it. And speaking of Silver Gold Bull, when it comes to precious metals, these are the guys I'm pointing you towards. They got their start here in Alberta and continue to have their headquarters in Calgary. And they've been pointing to history may not repeat, but it often rhymes. And what's going on today on the other side of the world, is reminding them a whole lot about the 1970s, where inflation spikes were driven by oil prices. And it appears we're reliving that period based on current events. And when it comes to what performed best in the 70s, they point to precious metals. And if you go down in the show notes, you can text or email Grahame for details with any questions you have around investing in precious metals or for future silver deals exclusively offered to you, the SMP listener. You can find out more about Silver Gold Bull at silvergoldbull.ca or .com. Guardian Plumbing and Heating, these guys have been keeping homes, farms, and businesses running smoothly since 2010. And farmers, with spring right around the corner, I can feel you're all getting itchy for that snow to go and probably get in the field. I'm probably jumping the gun just a bit, but not much. And farmers, this one's just for you from the Guardian boys. Guardian's efficient grain dryers and Guardian power stations aren't just available here. They're available all across Canada. The power station is an absolute game changer, giving you 2-for-1 utilities, heat, and electricity from the same reliable system. It's an innovative way to keep your operation running efficiently and to save on energy costs. Whether it's expert service, cutting-edge power solutions, or advice you can trust, Guardian Plumbing and Heating has your back. Guardian Plumbing and Heating, protecting their customers from the unexpected through innovative solutions. You can find out more at guardianplumbing.ca. Ignite Distribution is a high-service supply company based in Wainwright, Alberta, specializing in automotive parts and a wide range of additional products, including safety equipment, welding supplies, fasteners, and janitorial items. And they operate as a Napa auto parts retailer. You can find out a little more about Ignite Distributions. Give them a call, 780-842-3433. Say hello to Shane Stafford and his team, and let them take care of you. All right? Cornerstone Forum, once again, March 28th. It's around the corner, and I'm going to say it one more time in case you missed it. You don't got tickets, and you're like, man, why aren't you live streaming? Well, we do something a little different. Monday through Thursday, the week after, we're going to release all of the keynotes, the debate, the one-on-one with not only the Premier and Martin Armstrong, and you get the point. All of the discussions are going to be live on Substack for paid subscribers. So if you want to catch it all, become a paid subscriber on Substack, and you'll have full access. If you're listening or watching on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Rumble, X, Facebook, Substack, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to leave a review. Make sure to share with a friend if you're enjoying the show. Make sure to send me a text. And would love to hear from you guys a bit more on what you thought of this week's guests, or maybe somebody you've listened to on another podcast and you're like, man, yeah, I'd really like to see this person on yours. Either way, that's going to do it here. We're going to get on to that tale of the tape. Today's guest is a Saskatchewan-based farmer. He's also the founder of Living Streams Institute, a Saskatchewan non-for-profit think tank and educational organization. I'm talking about John Graff. So buckle up. Here we go. Well, welcome to the Shaun Newman Podcast. Today I'm joined by John Graff. Sir, thanks for hopping in the studio.
Yeah, thanks. Nice to swing by.
No kidding. For the audience, this is the first time, I was saying to you before we started, we've chatted on the phone before.
Yeah.
And once upon a time, we helped you put on an event out in Lashburn.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't know if, certainly you've never been on the podcast before.
Yeah.
So maybe we just start with, for the audience, a little bit about yourself and go as long or as short as you'd like.
Well, yeah, I'm John, and from down in southeast Saskatchewan is where we make home now. And my I guess my background, I'm a farmer by heart and by vocation, and in the past animal nutritionist, and then I guess of late I've been doing a lot more in helping people get their voices heard, and maybe trying to plan ways that we can exist in this changing world and still maintain a little bit of sanity. And so I'm one of the directors and founders of the National Citizens Inquiry, and then president of Living Streams Institute. So,
Well, before we get too far into that, I got a gift for you for being in studio.
all right, silver, great, yeah.
That's a
Oh no, not him.
That's a 1 ounce silver coin. That's fair. That is totally fair. 1 ounce silver coin.
Yeah, thank you.
From
Yeah.
Silver Gold Bull. That's
Yeah, a maple.
Yep. They for anyone that comes in studio, we hand out a 1 ounce
Right.
silver
All right.
coin. So I'm curious.
Okay.
I know a little bit about living streams, and
Yeah.
I've seen some things on precious metals.
Yeah, we're high on the high
You're
on our.
a collector then.
Not a collector, no. What we look at is it should be used as currency. Use it in transactions, and so I'm not really one who digs up and puts silver in a bag in the garden or anything, but I'm trying to promote it as something that we use in our transactions, because this is real money, and it's what we should be doing. I love the way, the aspects of what we can do with it, and get people out of the fiat world. Yeah.
Well, I agree. So, going back to it, you just I don't even know where to begin with you, because there's a whole bunch of different things I thought about talking about. But you're just on your way back from the NCI.
Yeah.
I've had Shaun Buckley and Ken Drysdale, and I don't know, a whole bunch of other people that have been a part. I was actually somewhere here. I got the sorry folks,
Yeah,
I'm
there you
talking half in. I got the NCI final report.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm talking to the mic. I'm not talking to the mic. I'm just it's sitting there.
Yeah.
Anyways, I got a ton of respect for those two men specifically.
Yeah.
And you just came from Kelowna,
Right.
and this one's all about farmers.
Yeah. Our farmers safe in Canada.
So I thought maybe we'd just start there, because if people weren't paying attention and missed it, they can go back and watch it.
Yep.
And if anybody remembers, and I think we do, the National Citizens Inquiry, when they went across Canada, some of the testimonies there were unbelievable.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody that spends a little bit of time on our website or watching some of the videos is going to change their life. It's in the first time across Canada, I was here with the new team here in Saskatchewan and in Saskatoon, and listening to some of those stories. And I was part of interviewing and then ran the hearings up here. And it really, it gets you. It gets you. It was rough just going through, listening to other people's stories of what they went through with vaccine injuries and that type of thing. And you just, once you realize that our authorities, our people above us, knew what they were doing to people, I don't know what you can't unsee that. You can't unlive it.
Well, walk me through the NCI in Kelowna then.
Mm-hmm.
What did you hear? What did you see? It was 3 days, correct?
Yep, 3 days. So this is our third actual topic. So first was the COVID, then we had our children safe in Canada. That wrecks your world as well. And then this is our farmers safe in Canada, the first hearing in that. We'll see how many we get. There's a lot of interest. 3 days there in Kelowna. And we heard some top. This was probably a little bit different than others, because we didn't have as many experts. Well, and I shouldn't say that. Most farmers are experts, but we didn't have the big PhDs and that kind of stuff. We had people telling their stories from Jim Ness, just straight south almost here, telling his story of when he opposed the
the
wheat pool.
board.
The wheat board.
Yeah.
And he went to jail for it, like for taking a bag of grain across the U.S. border, legally walked across to the south, and then arrested. Well, he was charged, I guess, on the way back. The second time he did it, and there was 24 of them, 24 farmers who did this as a protest event. And on the way back the second time, met with SWAT team and people in black masks and SWAT it all up with automatic rifles. And to hear him, I think everyone should watch that testimony. It is the education for every dissident on how to take down a unjust system, and they succeeded, and we can too. And the interesting thing is, it's the same people, the exact same people, then as now. They're just tyrants, and we need to take them down. And he lays it out. That is exactly what we need to do. And then we had people like Teresa Walker, who experienced depopulation of her animal herd in England, and then came to Canada and got to experience mad cow, or BSE. And she talked about the emotional part. Talked as farmers, how we have a dedication to our animals, and the just how it tears you apart to fail your animals and having them when they're killed by authorities when they're not even sick. And then we had the Katie and Karen, Lee Turner, and all the people involved at the ostrich farms there in BC, and heard the details of that. And you realize when you listen to Lee Turner, who's the lawyer, and he talks about how the government came in and they killed those ostriches without a test on just the suspicion of disease. And even if you test them and you prove that they're healthy, if you prove they're healthy, they won't listen. They will kill them anyways, because they go back to a prior suspicion. The complete injustice of that. Killing people's livelihood, wiping them out. We have people that we have witnesses who had their animals depopulated, and they're a year since that time now they'll have missed 3 crops, calf crops. One that was there that was killed, one that should have been sold last fall or over the winter, and now they haven't been able to restock, and their animals will be they will not have a calf crop this coming year to sell. Nobody cares. They just let them go. Let these farmers fend for themselves. And then all the time try to push the compensation package down, make them desperate so they have to accept. That's what our government's doing to people. Without a test, based upon suspicion. It's like it's a political punishment. And you start to hear these things, and it's again, what are we going to do? It's just not right. And the voices of the people have to be heard. And the media is not, people don't realize how many thousands of animals are being killed every week or month. They're not spoken about in the media. The mainstream's not doing anything on it. And these people are just suffering in silence. And they take it, the farmers take it because they don't want to upset the industry, and they feel a little bit shame for having brought this on themselves, and they didn't do anything. CFIA shows up. It's just not right. And so NCI, we have to be unbiased and objective. It's really, really hard. But now that the testimony's there, we can speak about what the testimony was and see. We invited all the CFIA. We invited the Minister of Agriculture. We invited the head of the CFIA. We invited everybody. They don't show up. So we'll go with the testimony that's given. And it really bothers me when you hear the stories. It tears at you.
When you your name has been, I think, synonymous with solutions, or like working at things to try and push back against what is happening. I could be wrong in how I position that, regardless. When you look at the where we sit in Canada and how we get out of it, you've had a lot of time to sit and think on this, and more than that, I would say you've been doing a lot of things. And trying to educate and train and probably a few other words that I don't know about, John. When you look at where we sit in Canada currently, you sit in the western provinces, right?
Yeah,
You're in Saskatchewan. You're in
Yep.
one of the freer spots of Canada.
Yeah, we call ourselves the center of freedom.
That's right. What are some things that you can talk about that you think people should know?
Well, I think when you look at this, so look over the series of things that we've been looking at in just the NCI, and we've only just touched on things really in the NCI. They're bigger investigations and inquiries into things, but so we've done the COVID investigations, and we found that the government knows what they're doing, and they have injured people knowingly. Some of the people that we think are our saviors of the West and even of some of our provinces, they knowingly are allowing kids and families to be hurt. So you see that. Then we went through our Children Safe in Canada, and we go through and one of the things that some of us we haven't got the report out yet, so I don't want to speak out of turn, but my understanding from sitting there and watching this and listening, hearing some of the experts say that the number one group in Canada that is trafficking children is our government. That's shocking. But below that is how they're destroying families and coming in and just taking kids and the decisions that tear families apart. So they're attacking our health, they're attacking our families. Now we're seeing how they're attacking our food and our farms and our animals, and they're just moving now onto some investigations into the CFIA is looking into seed and the genetics of seed, and they want to regulate and control and change that. So our food is at risk. Our monetary system's at risk. With everything that you hear, the destruction and the debt and inflation, all of those things going together. So our monetary system's at risk. Our education system is a travesty, at the very least. You have what's happened to Mr. Neufeld out there in BC. That's insanity. It's plain insanity. You see what's happening in Calgary with Derek Reimer and things like that. It is absolutely it's a systematic destruction of our society in Canada, our culture, our country. I think when he said it back years ago, when Justin Trudeau said that we were a post-national country without any national identity, he was right. He's maybe that day he may have not been, but he's accomplished it. And it's time for people, like we're in the ninth inning. It's time to deal with this, and we can't continue on just hoping that someone will change it and some representative will, who doesn't represent us actually. They actually represent the monster to us, trying to placate us into how to feed us best into the dragon. That's what we're kind of looking at, and so there are some things that we need to be doing. There are things we can push back at, and in the end, I think we can be successful if people get active, and that's where probably my biggest fear is that people are they've listened to the satanic lullaby too much, and asleep.
The satanic lullaby?
Yeah, that's a little thing that I coined for, if you look at all the evil in the world, and they just like to just whisper into your ear and sing you to sleep of how good it is, how, you know, all that type of thing. And we're really having some, things are tough for, if you want to see your kids have any freedoms in the future, any rights, any
I just saw my I've been avoiding social media for the last little bit. I've just been taking a bit of a break,
Yeah.
if you would. But I flipped it on. I was, when I was waiting for you, I was like, flip on X, see what's going on, right? And sitting there, there was a video of a lady out in Ontario having the police show up for things she said online.
Yeah, here we are.
And once again, folks, I assume that video is legit, right? I sit here and I go, I assume it's legit. But in Canada, right? We've been watching a lot of that in England, a lot of that in the UK, a lot of that going on there, and thinking, well, how far behind are we? Are we a couple of years? Are we a couple months? It's starting to look like it's going to start happening more and more here in Canada.
Yeah. Legislation hasn't even been passed.
That's right.
And that's one of the things that I was noting, like even with the CFI. But you see this in all these different places, like you're saying with the hate speech laws and that kind of stuff. They aren't law yet, and they're coming for people. There's guys in Saskatoon arrested and jailed for speaking and texting out or posting problems. But we see it, the CFIA. So if you went through Bill C-293, the government lays out its plan for food. Now, that legislation died with the calling of the election. It was a private member's bill. It passed through the House of Commons, but was in the Senate. And then they called the election. It died. But within it, it told us what the government's plans were for food. And our Prime Minister, when he wasn't Prime Minister, Carney, when he was just a man, maybe, he went on the podcast of the private member, of Erskine Smith, and kind of boosting his status by having someone of that stature on while he's pushing the bill C-293, which is a pandemic preparedness bill. And in it speaks that they will regulate, first they will prepare for a world without antibiotics, reducing the dependence upon antibiotics. When you remove antibiotics, other places they speak about having a world without antibiotics. So how are you going to treat? Antibiotics are things like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, penicillin, things like this that we need to treat diseases. Maybe we don't need to use it quite as much, but they're already highly regulated. They're preparing for a world without them. So where does that leave us? It leaves us basically with vaccination and with genetic modification of your immune system. I'm not sure if most of us are probably not in favor of a lot of that anymore. Then they will regulate commercial agriculture. And commercial agriculture, if you look here even in Alberta, what was tried to push through some of your local bylaws on land use and that type of thing, 3 chickens is the limit of non-commercial. So 4 chickens was commercial or industrial. So very low levels of and thresholds for that.
Let me ask you a question, because you are a man that I feel like has looked into lots of different ways of repelling this or I don't know, finding a way to push back.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way a group of people could take over in Saskatchewan, an RM, right?
Yes.
The 3 levels of governance: federal, provincial, municipal.
Yeah.
The municipal has a ton of power there. And could you take that over and just be like, no, we're not doing these bylaws and a whole bunch of different things?
Yes, I think that is part of the plan that we need to be looking at. There are other things we can do, But there are several places where we run up against a wall in other actions, and you have to turn to municipal end of things. They control most of the property taxes. The money comes from them. And as soon as you can get control of the RM, you have control of the money. You can direct it to what schools you want. You get to maintain the roads that they're wanting to lower. It's the RMs that control the police budgets.
And you know the funny thing about the RMs? How many votes in some small little not small RM, because I mean land
My
size.
district and my RM is 16 votes.
Correct. Like you're already where I'm probably 10 years behind you. I've just been like on this side when you first start down this road, you interview all these people, you kind of go through like, I don't know, what is it, the can't be that bad.
Yeah.
There's no way it's that bad. Then you're like, it is
no
that
idea.
bad. Then you're like, okay, well, Pierre gets in, right? Conservatives get in, we'll fix all this. And then you start looking at that, and you're like, that doesn't look like it.
So that's, like, you can't really fix, I don't see how we fix the federal government because they're all, one wing, right wing, left wing, all the same bird is what you hear. And that's true. Pierre gets in, might be a nice guy, don't know. But when you look at the track record of the Conservatives, Harper was who signed the Sustainable Development Goals. It was the Conservatives who put forward open banking. And now it died in the last election call as well. And then the Liberals brought it and put it in the budget. Open banking is what watches all of your money and all of your transactions and decides whether or not you can buy something. That's in our budget already, 2025 budget. That was put forward by the Conservatives, who said, we will put this forward and push the Liberals into it. And they did. It's the Conservatives who said, we want, or I think Melissa Lansdowne was who said it, that UBI, Universal Basic Income, should be owned by the Conservatives. It should be part of our platform, something to that effect. And
well, you're reiterating, so then you start staring at it and you're like, oh man, okay, well provincially. We'll do it provincially. And then you keep looking at things and you're like, man, I don't know.
yeah.
And I come
You
down.
can't find a human savior.
Very good point.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that, I think you were exactly right with the municipalities. And in Saskatchewan, we're a little different than in Alberta. Alberta, there's great big counties, and they're huge. The council is a little bit detached from their people around them. But in Saskatchewan, we have fairly small municipalities. They're what are they? 36 miles by 18 miles, I think. Is
roughly.
Yeah. And and I know my counselors. My next door neighbor, my daughter's babysat his kids. My son's helped the other counselor.
Like I say, Saskatchewan's such a unique case study because of the population size.
Yeah.
And then how many votes would it actually take? It wouldn't take, 100
Well,
votes.
most of the counselors and everything has been for a generation been acclaimed.
Correct.
They haven't had an election. Nobody's ran against them. Now, a lot of them are really good guys. They're farmers and they're people. There's a few dinks, but most of them are typically common sense until they get themselves pumped up, and pumped by somebody and turn into little Hitlers. But those, you just have to run against them. Just easy, 16 votes. That wouldn't be, and so that's only 9 votes to win. So changing them over should be pretty simple. And
it should be, but you already said it. Getting people to do things or to become an active is a very difficult endeavor.
Yeah. It is. We do have the strength in Saskatchewan of having a rural population. It's a people who are doers. In the cities, I think that's a little harder. But in the rural area, we'll grab baling twine and some duct tape and we'll go fix something. And I think that's what's going to save us here. God will encourage us, and it might take some hard times too in some areas to get people riled up, and maybe that comes along.
Well, what do they say? Nobody moves from a place of comfort.
Yeah,
and certainly that hits the nail right on the head.
Yeah. So I do think that where we come from. Now in Alberta, the province has ruled against, if you shake the tree a little bit too much here, they'll come and depose you as a council here in Alberta. I dare them to try that in Saskatchewan. I dare them. They will have an uprising like they have never seen before. And so I think we're in a good place that way. There's enough power in our rural vote to keep Saskatchewan straight.
I'm curious. I'm going to go all the way back. I said you should tell the audience a little bit about yourself. But you born and raised in Saskatchewan?
No, I'm from Alberta.
You're from Alberta, so you're the opposite. You're an Alberta transplant into Saskatchewan.
Yep. Yeah. There's a couple of us.
Did you ever think you'd be, I don't know, not that chair's anything special, but like in general, I don't know. I assume when you were younger, you had a life planned of, I actually don't know, but like, did you think you'd be sitting where you're sitting and the NCI and all the different things that have been going on?
No, I'm not sure that I want to be, but I don't think I could handle looking at my kids and my grandkids and saying I had the opportunity, and I said no. I stood down. This is about legacy. Everyone out there, there's too many people trying to build their life here, the big house, the big car, the boat. When they die, it's all gone. But you save Canada, you save the West, and that lives forever. And that's what people need to realize. Your family goes on after you die. And if you sit back and do nothing, you end that line. You end your family.
Well, that's kind of been beat into us, Like, I was just having a conversation with my oldest brother, actually, that, like when I first started the podcast, I don't know. Maybe I thought in the sense of years, or probably a year, but not much further than that. And, 1,000 podcasts into this sucker, I'm thinking a lot longer than what's happening in Shaun's next year, right?
Yeah.
And so when you start to take a look at that, then you can start looking at things, okay, we got to start doing some things a little bit differently. I got young kids, right? And what do you want from them? You want them to have a life?
Yeah.
When they
at least opportunity.
Opportunity.
Yeah. We don't. I definitely do not want my kids to have a determined outcome in their life, determined by somebody else. But
especially with the values they have.
Yeah. And I also do not want the powers that be setting what their opportunities are. And that's, our system is being developed into where it takes away opportunities, say that you can't get out of the rut you're in. You can't overcome what where you're at, your status in the country. It's a respecter of persons that I can't stand. This British aristocrat stuff with drinking tea with the little fingers, and with the stuff you get, just listen to when you go back east and listen. We can't have that. And you listen to Jim Ness again when he's talking about the old wheat board and how I grew up under that and tried to start farming under that, and it just crushes you. And you know that you're taking $3 or $4 a bushel less than everybody else in the world, and less than people on either side of us here in the prairies. So BC didn't have to sell for that cheap, and Ontario and East didn't have to sell. And you listen, and I think I'm I'm that age group where I was a young man when it was still in effect, and trying to get started farming, and how it crushed all hope. You know, you couldn't do anything. You couldn't even try achieve anything. I know what that felt like. That removal of opportunity. I do not want that for my kids. And right now, agriculture has got some hope in it, but these forces are still coming back, trying to take that hope out of it, and trying to take the opportunity away. And we cannot allow that. We cannot allow that.
And it's one of the things I'm beginning to realize. Even if you succeed, they will try again, and then they're going to try again, and they're going to try again. So you might as well just get going.
Yep, the playbook, they just read the same playbook over and over and over. Like I said, the exact same people are involved on both sides of this. Like in the struggles we've been having the last few years in the health world, the exact same person was involved in the wheat board. Exactly, on the government side. And you ask, well, what's going on? Well, it's a playbook.
With the Living Streams or Crossroads, correct?
So Crossroads Forum is our committee that puts on a monthly community supper and information and community building in our area. And Living Streams Institute is our overall organization, the think tank.
So when it comes to then Living Streams, what should people know about it? And if they wanted to get in contact with you or with the group, what would you instruct them to do?
Well, first, just go to our website, livingstreams.ca. Take a look at that. There's a lot of stuff in there. So we've been, in going at this since November of 2018. We've been building leaders around all over the country. We are doing the Crossroads Forum, probably one of the oldest continuous gatherings that keeps going, and now that's reaching out. We're streaming that into communities all over the country. We have our parallel economy work that we're doing, helping people have hope. I never want to hear someone say, I had to take the jab or I'd lose my job and then lose my house. We have alternatives. We can help people that way. We're involved in promoting silver and alternative currency, trying to help fund the parallel and give dissidents and people who want to remove themselves from working for the bad side, the darkness. They can come and we can help them do that. We're just getting ready to launch a program, an initiative right now to help any of these farmers that we find are depopulated and remove it, because they need both support, emotional support, and friendship, and they also need funding. So we're getting ready to help fund them, restock them, because the CFA is dragging it out too long. And then we have the petition going on, the Stakes Are High campaign, talking about what is happening on all this traceability, and it's people don't realize how close we are right now to losing our proteins. So in Saskatchewan, for example, it's come out it's been admitted to by the government. They've made press releases about the animal burial pits that will take, in some species, 75% of all the animals in Saskatchewan. It's the plan, and we have it in writing from them, and the scale and the scope, and that happens to all these depopulated animals, so
Did I hear that correct?
Yes.
An animal burial pit.
4 of them.
Where 75% of all the animals will go.
Yep. So
what?
Yeah.
What is the their reasoning behind that?
So if you want to to see the whole thing laid out point by point, look at my presentation at the NCI. This time I was a witness, and I lay out the whole plan of what we see going on, from traceability, from animal health emergencies, traceability, through building these pits, then once they identify a disease, then they build a vaccine bank. So they are currently doing that. It's been funded, and they're building a vaccine bank, 30 million doses for foot and mouth disease in case foot and mouth disease comes. Then they're hiring new tracking agents, RCMP officers, who work in place of brand inspectors. So brand inspectors are still doing the good work they've always done. But now they need RCMP is who they're hiring to do it. Animal tracking experts to enforce federal and international regulations in the event of an animal health emergency, is their exact words. To train RCMP in how to track people who aren't doing the traceability, and train prosecutors in how to prosecute people who aren't putting the proper tags in or whatever it will be. That's already done. The people are already hired. I can identify the people, and they're there. They're going after then building these burial pits. Once the burial pits are ready to operate, which the contracts have already been issued, then they will have a crisis will take place, and then you vaccinate the animals. You kill the herd that has been identified. You vaccinate all the animals with the vaccines that they have in the 30 million dose vaccine bank, where some of the vaccines have been developed by the CFIA in Australia for foot and mouth disease. Once you do that, those animals are no longer eligible for export. And the whole process is sold on the aspect that we have to keep the borders open. Their plan, it's called, the CFIA's plan is called vaccinate to kill. That's how they define it. It's vaccinate to kill. Then all of these animals, so pigs, sheep, cattle, deer, goats, anything cloven foot, will get vaccinated in that quadrant of the province, and then has to be killed, and they need a place to put them, so they have the burial pits. And then we have a food protein deficiency. So they have just over the last year, they've approved simulated proteins in order to take the place in both the milk proteins and in the meat proteins. Owned by, again, the same people that brought us the COVID vaccines.
Why would they vaccinate to then kill? Isn't that what you just said?
Yeah, that's the plan.
They're going to have a quadrant where they're going to have this disease breakout. So they're going to rush in. They're going to vaccinate everything.
Within 2 weeks, they vaccinate
and
everything.
then they're going to, after that, kill them all and stick them in a burial pit.
Yep. Needing to move, and like down to the detail of needing to move 65 cubic feet per hour, 8 hours a day, to keep up to the animals they think they'll be hauling in. That's the kind of detail. 155,000 tons per quarter section of dead animal carcasses.
Where can people find that?
Government website. Look at my presentation of the NCI. I have the links and everything on there.
I'll link it, maybe, folks, in the show notes. That way you can go watch John's.
It's shocking.
Well, I don't even know. I don't know. I grew up on a farm, and I'm thinking over the course of like my entire lifetime, what do you lose cattle to? Speaking specifically to cattle, folks, pneumonia,
A little bit. Yeah,
you know,
bit.
every once in a while you get a broken leg, something like that. There's probably a couple other little things, but nothing like that decimates a herd.
Yeah.
It's never happened. I mean, I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm saying in my lifetime on the farm, it's never happened.
Yeah. And not with the intent like this. The intent, it's intentional. There's a plan. It's right there on the, you can look it up on the CFIA's website.
Yeah, John, let me be very clear. I'm not, like, I lived through COVID.
Yeah,
at this point,
anything's possible.
Well, it's not that anything's possible. It's like there is truly evil people in this world that want us to eat bugs, and you talk about the artificial protein. You're like,
Yeah.
I mean, you
Well, that's
literally
one of the owners of the new simulated proteins is Tyson Foods. So Tyson Foods in the U.S. is shutting down, I think it was 6 chicken plants last year. And those 6 plants they're massive. They shut them down because their excuse was that their clients or the customers are not economically able to handle the cost of chicken in the U.S., which is the cheapest meat there is down there. And then they replace it with cricket plants. They start, after that, building cricket plants.
You look at this and you go, this isn't a 6-month plan, folks. This is a course of the next 20 years where you could go from eating, I just think of Alberta beef, right?
Yeah.
Or coming from Saskatchewan beef.
Yeah.
And over the course of 20 years, all of a sudden you're looking around and you're like, where'd all the herds go?
Yep. Well, they're going into, canola and peas and stuff, which is, I'm not against grain farming. I do it. I think we need it. It's a good thing. But we can't change all of our proteins over. And then going back to Bill C-293, it says in Bill C-293, phase out industrial agriculture or industrial animal production. Phase it out. It was part of Bill C-293. And promote alternative proteins. That's the 4 points. Antibiotics, regulate the industry, promote alternative proteins, and phase out industrial animal agriculture. Now, that was the law. It did not pass. It died in the election. CFIA is continuing to push. All of their things that they're doing is exactly those 4 points, whether or not there's legislation.
So if you have a bunch of farmers listening to this, okay, which I assume there will be, but let's just assume, folks, at this point, you're a farmer and you're like, holy crap, my neighbor should probably just hear what was just said. So you're speaking to a bunch of farmers now. What would you want them to know?
We need you. One, Canada needs you. Our kids need you. We need what you produce. We need your economic stimulation in the economy. And we need you as men and women to stand up and say, not on my watch. Not while I'm here will they get away with this. And I think we can win this. This is winnable. And then fourth, probably go talk to your producer organizations that are supposed to be your advocate. And we know now that they turn over all of their press releases and the research and everything that they produce goes to the CFIA first and is adjusted and edited to match with the narrative of the government and comes back and is then posted out as the advocacy of the producer. You need to go talk to those people and get them removed. If they're complicit in that, remove them.
So the advocate sends their stuff to the CFIA.
Yes.
So that it can be basically proofread.
And changed.
So then they can send it back and then put it out.
Yes. The advocates for the industry, Shaun, are now you. Not our checkoff dollars that we all pay into and comes back to our advocacy groups who are just regurgitating propaganda from the government. You are our advocates. The NCI is our advocate. That's where we're at.
I don't know about you, but I know a bunch of farmers, right? And if they heard what you just said, I'd be like, I feel like some of them are going to be like, what? Maybe they're all paying attention. I don't feel like it because I don't hear that at Coffee Row. I don't go sit down.
Well, nobody knows. This just came out just in the last few weeks here. I link to that conversation and interview is in my footnotes in my presentation.
In the NCI presentation, which would be good to draw some attention to not only yours, but everybody. Like my hat's off to everybody in the NCI. Because there has been a ton of great work go through there.
It's an amazing organization. The team there is awesome. It's just the number of hours that each one was put into this. And if you had been there, you see people have. It's one thing to watch it on, and you need to watch what's on there, but you need to attend and see the professionalism and just feel like if you can volunteer and be on the team.
Yeah, I got a group of people who listen to the show that volunteer.
Yep.
So I've heard lots of great stories.
Trish was down there. Yeah. From here in town. Yeah, we had several from Lloyd. Yeah, good people.
Well, I mean, anyone that's willing to lend a hand for something like that, my hat's off to you. You know, like I just. Okay, back to. You've made my hair stand up on end talking about livestock. Parallel economies. You mentioned that, and maybe I should rewind that. You said you started in 2018. I wasn't ready for that. In my brain, I thought you were about to say 2021 or, you know, like, I don't know, middle of COVID. 2018. Yep. What set this off in 2018?
I was living in the States for 15 years, and prior to that, in 2018, I came back. There's a story about that, but too long for here.
You obviously don't know what a podcast is.
You don't know how I talk. Yes, and so I started touring around trying to find out where we were going to land and continue on. And as I start coming and visiting with people in Canada, I'm like, you don't know what's coming, do you? Like, shoot, you're not ready.
So what were you doing in the States then?
Well,
I'm curious now because when you say you have no idea what's coming, what were you what set you off? What point do you go, something is off here? Because, I mean, John, I assume you weren't, 14 rolling around going, I know something's coming.
Yeah.
I assume at some point you go, something is off.
Yeah. So prior to going to the States, I was, teaching college and then speaking in universities and stuff as guest lecturer on agriculture and animal science and stuff. And so I went to the States, and then over time I was consulting down there as well. And so I got to meet with some of the people who make things happen and make the plans go around. So I worked with presidents and governors and from many countries, princes, and on food security issues, on agricultural policies in various places, and got to meet with the bankers, like the big bankers, and find out what their plans are with some of these for these plans. And it's not good. It's not good with the future. And so we're seeing some of those things come about now. And so when we landed back up here, I'm like, just chasing the biggest farm is not always the best policy. Sometimes we need to be developing our communities more. And a very large farmer is very easy to control. And once you control the very large farmers, you control food. And now we see where the system may be deeming even the large farmers difficult to control, and it's difficult to manage. If you're from a livestock operation, how easy is it to control you guys? And it's like herding cats. But if we eliminate your livestock, and if we change that to being the proteins developed from a yeast in a tank, we can put big tank farms together and have 2 or 3 companies that control North America. That's pretty simple to control the food. Once you control the food, you control the people. And that was what was being taught by some of the other consultants out there that were bigger and more influential than us. But they were advising most of the large companies and the banks on the way forward. And the way forward was to control the food, to control the people, and cut the population by 50%. And that's what you see coming.
So when you go back to working with princes and, all the things you rattled off, at some point you go, I don't like this.
Yeah. No. This isn't... Like in all of these little parts, when you look at them individually, there's an aspect where you can argue the benefit of them. Like you can argue the benefit of animal traceability.
Sure.
We can all argue that benefit. But then when you have ulterior motives and you take out the idealists who are trying to work for the betterment of the animal, all of a sudden that becomes a control structure. And then there's the second part and the third part. Once you start seeing all these parts come together, then you're like, well, hold it. Each one could be beneficial in a small little way, but they're being rolled out together in such a way that the end conclusion is profit for a certain few and control by the elites. And that's not what we're aiming for, I don't think, in our communities and our families. I don't want more control and more slavery for my kids. That's not the path I'm on.
So then you land in, so you go through that and you come back in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, pull me back to my original question.
Yep.
And you're sitting there looking around going, none of these people have any idea what is going on, because you've been privy to conversations that point the direction of, I mean, now that I look back and watch different things, people were screaming from the rooftop of the 50% population reduction and how they were going to do that through multiple different ways and on and on. But at the time, I certainly wasn't listening to any of that.
And you think at the time, well, yeah, let's just talk. There he is again, crazy grandpa or crazy uncle, and you hear these things. But now, with a little bit of hindsight and the ability, I think the internet has really provided us with the ability to look at numerous points of data really quickly and retain them and line them up. And that might be why some of these legislation's coming forward to control it.
You think about, talking about control, you talk about decentralized things, podcasts, and how decentralized. Everybody screams about how much money the CBC's getting. Full stop. I agree they should be defunded and everything else. But the funny thing is I was just looking at a Chris Sims report. I want to say it's like less than 3% of Canadians watch. So is that really a control of the public? Nope. I mean, don't get me wrong. My tax dollars and your tax dollars, everybody's tax dollars is going into this, but nobody's watching. Mm-hmm. So what are they doing with different bills? They're trying to corral the herd again because it is decentralized. So when you talk about the internet, it gave rise to the ability to do this.
Yep.
And once people start talking, well, we can't have that. I mean, we saw, we all lived through COVID, and you could think I'm completely out of my mind for what I saw in COVID. But one of the things was the elimination of allowing people to get together. It's a pretty strange thing. So when you talk about controlling the food, you control the people. Well, you control the discussion. That's another way of just eliminating a whole bunch of things, and we're seeing that playing out. Yep. And has it hit yet? But we can see where it's going. This is just the beginning. Where does it go in 10 years? Not anywhere good.
Right. Yeah, we're on the cusp. There are a lot of things happening that people don't know. It's kept from us. But once we can bring them forward, and you start to see this, like the thousands of animals. Like we're talking in the chicken flocks, it's millions and millions of birds that have been killed. In cattle, it's thousands and thousands. And nobody knows. It's all quiet and all hushed. And the people are afraid to speak up because they won't get compensation, and that's the insinuation or the impression they receive. If you push back, there might be a pushback from the government, and it won't be good.
Well, I mean, we just saw the ostriches.
Yeah,
I mean, we saw how that all went down.
Yeah,
and there was a ton of international coverage of that, let alone Canadian coverage of it, right?
Yeah.
So you can see that the message has been sent.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to come back to it again. So 2018, you start. Mm-hmm. And what was the goal back then?
Well, at first, one was training people. And I think back to that time and some of our discussions. Well, if we have to get to the point where there is potentially separation in the future, who do we want to be our leaders? Do we have leaders of a quality that would deserve to lead us? And the answer was no. You think back in 2018, 2019, who would be president of Western Canada? Probably a little guy sitting in Edmonton, Jason Kenney, who turned on all of us. And that would have been president, and should not be in that type of position. I don't know that we have. It's hard. Like, I don't want to malign anybody, but we didn't have people that were resistant to corruption. They weren't resistant to elitism, and they didn't. Do people understand how to serve? I think the more leadership is standing in front of a crowd and being cheered to most of these people, where really a true leader should be able to serve the people. And I don't see that. So we started out in leadership development. We looked at churches and families and communities and said, well, the men aren't standing up and protecting their families like they should. They aren't. So we started working on that, and from there we've kind of grown into community leaders all over the country, and it's been quite a good experience, actually. We've probably gone through now 5 generations of people who have gone through the weekly training. I know some of them, and it's enabled them and encouraged and equipped them for their current positions and future positions that they have in leadership. And that was our first. We started community developing early on. Soon as everybody was told that they shouldn't gather and that they shouldn't speak to each other and stuff, we went the other direction. Potential fines and everything, who cared? And we started doing that. Like a lot, we weren't unique in that at all. I think, though, we were maybe a little more intentional in what does this actually do in our community and why is it important. It wasn't just getting together to have a good time and be a little rebellious. There was an intentionality to it that we kept.
Well, you had
going.
Forgive me for interrupting, but like one of the things about starting in 2018 is by the time COVID hits, you already have some intentionality to what you're doing.
Yep.
So you see it and you're like, this doesn't make any sense. So we're going to start doing this immediately.
Yep.
And that gave a direction. One of the first meetings I was in an undisclosed location around Lloydminster, one of the things we did was we put up a whiteboard and we're like, what do we do? You know? And it was kind of like, throw things at the wall and see what sticks, because nobody knew what to do. And one of the things, I don't know if I'm right in this, but I've always thought since COVID ended, if they tried that same thing again, it wouldn't work because on humans, because like we've all been through it. It's like we don't need to go back to throwing things on the wall. It's like, what's going to work?
Yeah.
Like, do not comply. Full stop.
Full stop. Right
move,
there.
Move
and all
on.
Of these things.
Let's just move on. And that probably translates to all these problems.
Yeah.
But when it's a new problem, like the farmers,
Yep.
It's like, how many people even get what's going on?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and in these farmers right now, there are lots of farmers who are on our side. They've been depopulated, and now they're waiting on a check to be able to start their life again. They've been out there a year without compensation, which again looks after 3 calf crops. And the one that year, the past year, and the one that will happen, all of those are destroyed. 3 years of income, and they're sitting there waiting for our government to figure out a number that they're going to give them, and the government wants it to be as low as possible. And the other thing that really should bother people is these dangerous animals that had to all be killed, they went into the food chain. The government sent it into the food chain. And there was compensation from that. Somebody got a check, but it's like pennies. It's inconsistent. And when we have these people, now they're afraid to speak because it might injure their compensation
Well, you
package.
could. I mean,
It's
you're sitting
complete-
there and you're
yeah.
broke. You've lost your livelihood, and you're sitting there going, I just need the check,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you can like that.
And every day it comes down, the number that you would have settled for reduces.
It's the same control structure, right? What happened in the middle of COVID
Yep.
when people weren't the uptake was slowing?
Mm-hmm.
What did they do? They went to all the businesses, and then some of the biggest employers started saying, "Listen, you don't play ball, you're out of a job."
Yep.
And a lot of people felt that,
Yep.
right? That was a very, very uncomfortable time of life of when they come. So when you look at the farmers, it's a different. It's it rhymes. They say history doesn't repeat; it rhymes. I mean, man, doesn't that just rhyme, right?
Yeah.
They're doing a similar thing.
Yep. So how that's probably then tells us exactly where we should be, and we need to be working at systems that are outside their control, that buying locally, buying from somebody that you know, getting that type of your food stuff through that network rather than through the existing network of people who told their employees they had to attempt suicide, in effect, because they all knew what would happen when they did it. This was not NCI. We've established that they knew what would happen, and so you work and you buy your food from somebody that does that to their employees, and then we go buy our food. It's processed and comes from these big corporations that are in bed with the government, and they are shutting down chicken plants and putting in cricket plants and investing into yeast plants to control the food system for that day when they pull the plug and start filling animal burial pits. Those companies will make a lot of money. We need to have our systems set up to not be hooked into that.
A good this never aired on the podcast, folks. Although it's literally from the Bible, but I interviewed. I did a legacy interviewed a married couple, and I was asking him about the dry years of the '90s and how he survived that. And he said, "Oh, in the good years, you always prepare for the bad."
Yeah.
And when you sit here and you're having this conversation, and you're looking at all the things we've been talking about, it's like, so what do? Well, you don't sit on your hands and do nothing.
Yep.
You prepare and you make those connections of where you're going to get your food from, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's what you're talking
Yep.
about.
Yeah. Get all those connections. Get this.
Man, he's pointing to the silver coin. If you didn't see that. I appreciate you stopping in. Is there anything else? Your lovely wife is sitting out in the car, and I'm like, well, how long do we go for before, And the thing is the door's locked, so she can't even get up to pound on it and say, it's time to go, hon.
No.
Is there anything else you want to make sure people know about before I let you out of here?
No, there will be more hearings at the National Citizens Choir. Go take a look at nationalcitizenschoir.ca and see what's going on, and take a look at some of the testimony that's gone through there. If you want to get involved in parallel systems or find out how to help your local farmers and stuff, go to livingstreams.ca and keep listening to the real advocates of the people in this country, as people like you, Shaun.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't know. Some days I'm chasing my own tail, honestly, but I'm glad that forgive me. I don't even know who to give credit to. Somebody text me. So text me again, because I listen to my audience a ton, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, have you ever had John on? I'm like, actually, no. Like, as odd as that is, I'm like, it's been in the periphery. Gladly have you on. And then one text, and I mean, what has it been? Like less than 48 hours, and all of a sudden you're standing here.
Yeah, I was coming through the country.
Yeah,
on the
it
way
was
back.
Perfect timing. Yeah. So I appreciate you coming in and doing this and giving me some time, and we'll be paying attention. And either way, thanks